Hey guys, here's my video. It's over Eagle Landing as well as Mountain View Golf Course. Those are the two locations of my internships, and with these two internships, a lot of irrigation, some turf work as well, and essentially we're going to get started at Eagle Landing. Eagle Landing is a par 3 golf course located in Happy Valley. And yeah, let's get started. So this right here is termed a burnout from my boss. This can be avoided by looking for areas with clusters of trees. The reason why I'm saying this is because if there's irrigation in the area with a cluster of trees, the irrigation will hit the trees and then the water will fall on the ground, leaving the ground very soggy beneath the cluster of trees. You can see there's a few trees in this area that collect quite a bit of water compared to the other areas of the golf course, especially behind me where I took this picture. It's not very noticeable here, but and if you've been at a golf course for longer than a year, or 3 months, you should have a good idea of where the muddy areas are, and try to avoid this. So this here is going to be our oil filter for the John Deere unit. The filter is placed on top of the unit there. Very easy to get to. I've seen oil filters located at the bottom right part of the machine. But this one's fairly easy to get to and significantly pretty large too. That right there is the actual filter itself that we took out of it. Faulty filter, got to get replaced, got to get the machine functioning again. A lot of issues come from filters, whether they're being dirty, disgusting, or clogged. Always check them. Always make sure it's not the filter giving you issues. And then from there, obviously go through more checks and find out what's the issue. But for us, it's just a filter and easy fix. But yeah, that's what a filter looks like. Oh, and in general, you want to check your oil filters probably about once a month. It's a good idea. Here's our mechanic. He's sharpening the reels himself by hand. It's better if your golf course is taking your reels to another prestigious golf course to have them sharpened, because the machines that they use at prestigious golf courses to sharpen the reels are much more accurate than the mechanic there doing it by hand. But that's what Eagle Landing wanted, and that's how they sharpen their reels, and they're satisfied with it being done with that way, so no issues there. Just not exactly the preferred method, but it works. So, and they also need to be back-lapped after you sharpen your reels, very important. And they also need to be balanced one way or another after you sharpen the reels to avoid any scalping of the turf. Alright, so the next part of this presentation is over Mountain View Golf Club in Boring, Oregon. 18-hole golf course. Right here we have a oil change taking place. I really like this picture because it was really nice to get like a little glimpse in time of the oil change itself. I mean, literally, that thing is jacked up and you can see the oil pan and everything underneath the actual machine there. So, kind of nice. Got a little picture in time, and pretty noticeable where the oil is located in that machine specifically and how to empty it. But yeah, you should check your oil. Your mechanic should know the condition of the oil in all the machines. No question about it. And as far as I'm concerned, he should definitely be changing the oil at least, I would say once every 3 months at least. Generally, I mean, it depends how often you're using the machine too, and what other issues your golf course presents itself. But yeah, and you can tell that oil need to be changed. I mean, that is just thick black and ugh, yeah. So Alright, so here's going to be our battery charger. It's hooked up to the same machine that we were doing the oil change on. This was done in spring because just lack of light in the mornings. A lot of employees using the lights, which means the battery drains earlier. Oh no. So as a mechanic, he's very, very tedious on making sure all the battery levels are good, especially in the springtime. Um, Knowingly that employees do leave the lights on quite a bit during the springtime when it's dark. But yeah, if you have a dead battery on a machine, your machine's done for the day. I mean, just don't even consider using it for that day. You can't charge it within 6 hours or 4 hours. It's just done. It has to charge overnight, and it can lead to some issues. So just kind of be aware of that. All right, so from here onward, it's gonna be a lot of irrigation repair stuff. Great opportunity. I mean, you need to really know some irrigation if you're going to be a superintendent, assistant superintendent, irrigation technician. You just need to know. You just need to really know. But in this photo, repairing a T-fitting, I really like this photo too because it's noticeable. I mean, there has to be pressure on so many aspects and points of this fitting. It's just ridiculous. I mean, we tightened one end of it, and then those two ends, we literally had to apply pressure with somebody's foot and also the wrench there, as well as the hand from our irrigation technician there. And I mean, it's no joke. Those joints have got to be stable. They have got to be solid in order for that part to be, working fully functional and. But yeah, it's just T-fitting going into three-way crossing. Can be tedious, and the angles have to be very precise. Otherwise, that can lead to water hammer and your pipe bursting, which I've been told by very many irrigation technicians. You could be at the same work site again and again and again and again because the angles are not set up in the irrigation system in a way that is supposed to allow for a fitting to go there. And which can lead to arguments. I mean, a lot of people have disagreeing opinions on how irrigation systems should be set up too. Yeah, it can be frustrating. But definitely something to pay attention to in all irrigation aspects. Is making sure fittings are snug. Yeah. And here, I like this picture. It's just like basic installing an irrigation head. Very basic, very easy. Once again, another aspect of irrigation, it's pretty noticeable. You got to make sure all the parts are lined up, snug, and solid, which is what my irrigation technician's doing there. But yep, no joke there. I mean, it took me probably 25 turns of that head to make sure it was snug. I mean, I felt like I was turning that thing forever. But it's no joke. I mean, they got to be snug. Yeah. And of course, when you do put the soil back, you want to make sure you pack it very tightly. Avoid water hammer. That's a big one. Now, here's the controller to our irrigation pumps. Not very noticeable, but there is red markings there where the irrigation controller is pointing to. Those red markings are just times the irrigation controller needs to be fired up and get specific sprinklers running within the irrigation system. And it's a Hunter irrigation programmer, or I'm sorry, it's a Hunter irrigation controller going to our pumps. I didn't really struggle to use this irrigation controller, but Hunters can be confusing, so just be aware of that if you're ever dealing with Hunters, or expect to have maybe a little dilemma being confused when working with Hunters. So all right, next one. Oh, and this job, sorry, this job is done every morning by our irrigation technician. He's firing up the pumps and he's getting our system ready to go, and checking everything and making sure our irrigation's set for the day. Alright, so here's myself programming the irrigation controller. Interestingly enough, this was difficult to use because it's a hunter. If it was a rainbird, probably a little easier. Um, a lot less. I, I would just say that using a hunter, it seems like there's more steps into getting something done. And it seems like when you use a rainbird, it's just like, oh, okay, I click that, and I accomplished what I needed done. I mean, it's just very, very more basic. In a hunter, it's like, no, you gotta click this and hold this down and that at the same time. And it's, oh, wow, okay. And there's so many different screens in the owner's manual, and but I was able to figure it out and program the controller there. It's sending a message to the receiver. Now, the receivers are hooked up to a valve in the irrigation system, that one, number 008. I could have sent a message for that valve to be programmed at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m., or sent a message to have two intervals at 8 a.m. and 6 a.m., or to have the area, actually not the area, just specifically with that valve. Whatever it may have been, but that is literally me sending the message to the receiver right there. That's a few more dots and it reaches the receiver and says message or whatever sent. But yeah, I was able to successfully figure out how to use it. It would be difficult for me to teach somebody how to use it. I'll say that because there's just so much troubleshooting in using this Hunter irrigation controller for the receivers, which I've been told in school. I mean, they can be frustrating. Just fair warning, and yeah, but it was good to learn. Interesting. So, all right. So here's a broken T fitting. This guy broke over on number 3 at Mountain View. Pretty noticeable. The fitting is leaking from the top right part of the T fitting. These types of leaks happen all the time. Happen all the time. Happen all the time. Literally, it could have been the angle of the piping. It could have been the T fitting itself. It could have been the system shut off too quickly and water hammer and number of things. It could have been not packing the actual soil into the site that you dug up. A lot of things happen. These types of fittings break all the time. What you hope for is that when you fix them, they don't break again. But they happen to break again sometimes too, and you just got to figure out a way to get it done. And it says there, it can be water, hammer, temperature change, stress, from degree of piping, you name it. Anything can really crack these pipes. If you're not winterizing your pipes the right way, that can easily lead to issues later on and crack some pipes. So, yeah. Alright, so right here is our sprinkler system over on number 13 at Mountain View Golf Course. Just wanted to fire up the sprinklers after the pump was turned on, help out the irrigation technician, save a little bit of time. It's pretty noticeable in that picture. Very good head-to-head coverage. The throw on those sprinklers is quite a bit of throw. It would have been kind of interesting to do a catch can experiment, but with time at the golf course, you really don't have time for that type of stuff. But just to kind of see like little subtle things of where the brown patches are in the grass correlated to the catch cans on the turf. But it's the way it goes with a lot of these golf course industry type jobs. When you're working outside, you just don't have time. You wish you could kind of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna see what this could happen, but you get paid by the hour, so you better get to it. You don't have time to do this stuff, but would have been interesting. Alright, so right here is a specific type of valve. This valve is hooked up to our green side sprinklers. it's a very delicate knob. When you're turning that knob, you have to be very delicate. It can actually, like, you can break it very easily. But yeah, just a specific valve that goes to our greenside sprinklers. I see those valves all the time on the golf course, everywhere. It's very commonly used. I see more of those than like gate valves or um, other types of valves. So, alright, so right here is me gluing two pieces of pipe together. When doing this, you, oops. Sorry about that. Okay. Alright. So, when doing this, though, you want to make sure that, talk to your boss, talk to your, the owner, whoever, just ask him, like, hey, is OSHA coming through once a year, once every 6 months or so, and are they going to be checking stuff, like, super crazy and just be checking everything, because you want to know, trust me, before, they show up and you're like, you get that nervous feeling in your stomach and you hope that, the stuff they're looking into you took care of, but, yeah, make sure there's at least a fourth of an inch of the primer showing for, OSHA or whatever, if you're in Nebraska or California, whatever, government, regulations that may need to be followed. And of course, when you're gluing the pipe, do it outside, not inside in a small room. I myself, I'm not actually like outside. I am actually just right outside of the threshold of the maintenance barn, which, in my opinion, I would have probably just done it outside if I had the option. But, yeah, I mean, as long as you are not indoors completely, it's, uh, you know, you definitely should be outside, though, when gluing primer. It's no joke there. You don't want to be inside. But, yep, just make sure you're checking up with OSHA, and you know that, you're using that much primer, and that much is visible, and you're using that specific type of primer, and it's right there for them to see if they ever come and, look and inspect. So, alright, so right here is a three-way crossing in a irrigation system. You see these crossings very often in irrigation systems, and, that's pretty often, pretty easy to dig up, though. It wasn't too time-consuming. Yeah. That's also in Portland. This type of soil, it's very muddy, so it is easy to get a shovel into. But rocky soils just gets annoying digging through. I can't imagine what you guys in Arizona are doing, to dig through irrigation. Nothing but dirt. But anyways, but yeah, there's just a three-way crossing for a fitting. Very common in irrigation. And, yeah. Alright, so just with that three-way crossing, a T-fitting would be used there. I believe that was the T-fitting used, in that specific scenario. But yeah, with the three-way crossing, it needs to be, more than likely some type of T-fitting. This one specifically is threaded on to the outside sides, and the bottom side has another part to the fitting itself that is threaded. Now, with these fittings, there's also other fittings, elbows, couplers, and backflow devices, and other ones as well. I see quite a bit of elbows, couplers, all the time. Just couplers everywhere. But yeah, and backflow devices, those are common. You don't see them a lot, but they are common on turf irrigation for golf courses. Alright, so here's the gate valve. This valve works by the ball dropping itself, and The bulb serves as a dam or a blockading function. It dams the water and allows only a certain amount of water to flow through. I mean, literally, this is probably on your, residential homes. Use this all the time. Very efficient, very basic. Hence why it's used all the time. I mean, would you rather have, something very basic, easy to fix, or something that's super complicated, a million parts, and doesn't function right, and yeah, which you notice quite a bit in irrigation. A lot of guys would rather have a basic fitting or a basic valve that is going to affect the velocity, pressure, and other aspects of your irrigation, rather than some really fancy machine that's going to seriously slow down, your velocity, or slow down drop down your pressure in your system. And so, I mean, in my opinion, from taking irrigation classes, the more basic the fitting and the less parts, the better, it seems like. And in my opinion, this type of fitting is pretty efficient, and as well as very, old, and, very basic. I mean, it just seems like this type of fittings at, almost every residential house that, you name it. But that's how it is in irrigation. It seems like you don't, I mean, with a backflow device, for instance, it's going to have so many aspects that affect your water pressure and your velocity, and other aspects of, fluid dynamics that definitely need to be paid attention to. Anyways, getting carried off there, but yep, gate valve, and that's how you fire up a certain part of the sprinklers there at Mountain View Golf Course. And here is a damaged sprinkler, specifically the O-ring or O-fitting is damaged. We use it for scrap, just simply scrapped it, and but yeah, you can still use these. Very, very economical way to go about irrigation repairs is using scrap parts. So, next one. Alright, so right here is the actual wiring with a valve. I wanted to get a close-up picture of it, rather than just kind of, you just kind of notice it. But yeah, I wanted to get a really good picture of where the wiring is going to and from, and pretty noticeable. It's not super complicated, but something to really, pay attention to, especially if your valve is giving you issues. You really want to check your wiring, make sure there's no breaks, make sure there's nothing as far as issues going on, damage. But yeah, I checked it. It seemed okay. It was super muddy, but I mean, the valve was working just fine. So I'm assuming there's no breaks or damage anywhere. But yeah, it's just one of the valves on number 17 at Mountain View. Super muddy, springtime. That's what happens. So, all right. So we come to the last slide here. So this here is our irrigation project over on number 6 at Mountain View. No, 7 at Mountain View. 7 at Mountain View. Really interesting picture. That barrel there, barrel-like, I guess irrigation part is actually being strapped down with string to prevent water hammer, I believe. But hey, I mean, when your irrigation technician has something working and it's working, you go with it and you trust them, and obviously that's been working and it's preventing water hammer. And it's obvious, maybe he's had a scenario like this with that type of irrigation part where it's, the pipe's bursted and they've had issues. So experience always will trump, just knowing parts and how things are going. No, experience always will have a leg up on, okay, I know this type of part and how it was, what condition it's in, what condition our parts are at this golf course, and how they need to be maintained. So, kind of interesting, but you can also see there is some wiring, gate valve, There's also a irrigation valve there and a gate valve. Yeah, I already said that, but kind of unnoticeable. I don't know if you can notice it, but it's there. Um, and yeah, this site took a lot of work to dig up. Oh man. And you can't leave a site like this unmarked. You got to put a mark there saying, trench or hole or whatever. But yeah, that's my slideshow. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's my internship, but yeah. Anyways, thanks.